So today this is a webinar to just go over the first one, e-commerce solution, go through the admin panel and show you how it works, and go through a bit of the front end and show you how that all displays so that you can add products in the future. So to start with, this is the dashboard that you get when you log into the shop admin. This is the vocoll login that you're provided with when you're setting the shop up. In the dashboard, you'll be able to see a snapshot of the last 2 weeks of data that will go over the number of orders, what types of orders, and the totals from those orders. These are all reports that you can then drill into in more detail later on. So next we look at is products. So products are broken down into two ways of grouping them. Firstly, we have the product types. This is the kind of global settings for a set of products. So at a high level, products that are going to be of a similar vein. For instance, in this case, kitchen or clothing. And product types contain some data that is default when you're coming to create items of that type. So a type will have a name. It will also have a description, a default price. It'll have some tags. These are specific keywords that are used in the front end by users to search for items. So if you're going to have a lot of items in your shop, you might want to make sure that you've got all the tags there correctly so that users can filter them on what they want. And then you have additional product types. So these are the variants that are going to be on any products created from this type, and they're going to allow you to define specific sets of products. Now these will make more sense when we come to look at the products in a minute and we talk about the lines of those products. But a good example is if you've got a t-shirt and you want to have multiple sizes and multiple colors, this is where you define what different variants those products are going to have. So it's important to note at this point that this is the point where you say it's going to have different colors and different sizes. Then the range of colors and the range of sizes you can change later on a product by product basis. But as far as at the type level, you can't go and later change and say, as well as size and color, it also needs to have width or an additional product type at this point. So those variants are set when you create the product and they can't be changed after that. The final setting here is email address. This is a unique email address that will be sent an email when an order of this type is generated. So it allows you to have different products from different areas of the business that will then get an email specifically when one of their products is sold. You also have general email addresses in the admin section that means when an order is created, an email will go to everyone on that list. This is additional specifically to this product type. For each product type, you can then edit all the settings apart from the variants. As we said, those are set once you've created it. You can delete it, you can add new product types, or you can create an item of that specific type. So if we go up to here, you can also go to the items here, and it will again show you the breakdown of the types, and then all the items of those types that have been created. So if we go now to add a new type of clothing, we'll show you what's on the options here. So this has got the prerequisites of the clothing set up. So you'll see here the tag of t-shirt has already been created. I've got my two different variants, color and size, and I've also got some default pricing down here as well. So then to make my specific product, I want to give it a name. Again, this is for a specific item of that type. So even though our category is clothing, this might be a specific t-shirt. And rather than having a different product for each different design or a different color or different size, we can have them in one product and have different lines of that size. So again, if I just quickly go over the options available, firstly, we have product name, which is the name of the product. We have a description here, which is a WYSIWYG editor, so you can add some extra HTML to it as far as making it bold, making links, and such as that. We have this priority setting here. Basically, you have 3 options on setting a priority, and this will determine where on the page to the user it shows, whether it shows near the top, near the middle, or near the bottom. And this allows you to effectively display the products that are of most interest at the top, and allows you to kind of rearrange those. If you've got seasonal products, you might want them to be lower priority for one season, but then you can just switch them to high priority when in a more relevant season. We have the tags, as we mentioned before. We've got the t-shirt one here, which we can either remove, we can add new ones, and we have the item variants. So here we've got some set up already. We've got white, black, and blue, and we've also got a range of sizes set up here, small, medium, and large. Here again, these are ones that have come in by default, but we can add or remove any that we want to have. So if we have a range of t-shirts that have these colors, that's fine. If we wanted to make a different product that was shirts that didn't have the same range, we can modify those specifically to that item. And again, you can add new ones or you can remove them here. The next option is setting a default image. So this will be the main image that's shown on the shop page, which we'll come to look at in a second. We also have a couple of additional options over here as far as if the item requires postage. So if it's tickets or invoices, you may not actually require any postage, so you can untick that and make sure that's not relevant. You also have this additional payment details box. This is on the shop item page. There is a little message window that appears under the add to basket option. And here you can put additional details specifically about the payment. So rather than put it in the description, you can have it associated with where you would go and choose to buy it. And then the final option here is where the customer selects the price. So this is only relevant when you're having, if you wanted to set up a donation product, or you wanted to set, say, an invoice product, where a customer actually is going to define how much they pay, rather than having a fixed price as you would with normal items. And to set this up, you have a minimum price, a maximum price, and a default price. And these are the options that will then generate that field in the front end. When the user comes to add it to the basket, this will affect what they can input into that box. If you have it unselected, it will just use the default price that you select. The next section we have here is to add form fields. So these are additional fields on the item that will allow you to give the user inputs. So again, if it's an invoice and you need to make sure that the customer puts in an invoice ID, you can add an ID field. Again, you can choose the field name, you can make sure it's required or not, and you can set the field length. And you have additional options here that you can set in that field, and those will all show to the user in the front end of the shop. Next, we look at the product lines. So for one given item, it will automatically generate a line for each different variant that you've got set. So if you see here on the right-hand side, we have white small, white medium, white large, black small, black medium, black large, and so on. These are all automatically generated, so when you change the variants, it will recalculate which different possible items you have available. For each different item, you have a range of settings. So an SKU, which is your stock keeping number that you have in your system. This is where you can associate that here. A quantity, so if you have a quantity of these to sell. If it's tickets or an invoice or something that doesn't have a quantity, you can just leave that blank and then it won't affect the amount you've got. Whereas if you do set a quantity, it will show it to the user, and any bought will reduce in quantity, and it won't let you purchase any if you've got a quantity of 0. A cost of the product and VAT percentage. Next, we have an image. So this will be an image specifically for this variant of the product. So whilst the previous image at the top is what shows on the list page where you see all the items, this is the image that will show when you've specifically drilled into that one product to look at it. And then you can also select secondary images, as you would see on other shop sites, where you can switch between them and have multiple images set up for the product. And then finally, you've got a description field. Again, it's a WYSIWYG editor to allow you to put a specific description for this variant. So if you just leave it blank, it will pull through the description of the item. But if each one you wanted to have a slightly different description, if it's a different color and you wanted to make sure the wording matches, this is where you can have a specific description for that variant. And finally, you can make them available. So whilst it will generate every possible combination of all your variants, you can select which ones are and which ones are not available. So that is creating the product types, the product items, and then the lines of those corresponding items. What that will then look like in the shop we've got a couple of examples here. This is a default shop demo. We've got 2 items in here. So this is listing them all. We have our filters, we can order them and we can search. We have our basket up here. And if we drill into a product, we'll be able to see we've got our image and we've got our variants down here. If I then go and change these, it will update the image and the description will update, as well as the quantity and the cost will update to that variance one. We then have the ability to add them to basket, and then, or just add to basket and pay now. So if I quickly just now switch back to the admin area and go through some of the reporting on those orders and some of the settings associated with the shop. So if we just go through the settings first. In the general settings, as I mentioned before, this is where we create the email addresses that will get an email confirmation of every new order that has been created, as well as the email addresses that are specifically allocated to a type that will also get an email. We have some additional configs here as far as the name of the shop, the standard rates, a tax exempt message, as well as some options for display as far as do we want to show the price on the layout page, do we want to show the ratings, what's the default ordering, and finally the ability to make the shop public when we're ready to set it off. We also have the details for the PayPal API in here. However, we do have other payment providers set up in the system. However, they are configurable in the back end, and that is SagePay and WorldPay, as well as a couple of others that we're currently working on. So next in the settings, we have the checkout page. So once you, as a user, have added something to your basket and proceeded to check out, you will be asked to fill out your details. If the shop is embedded within a Verse1 CMS portal, it will pull through any details of the user if they're already logged in. So this will pre-fill out those fields in this form. However, if it's an anonymous checkout, they'll be asked to fill them in at this point. By default, we have these fields set up that are required for the actual payment to go through to a payment provider. But you can add additional fields here. So if you wanted phone number, if you wanted other fields, you can add them all here. Shipping, this allows you to set bands of how much shipping will cost. So depending on the cost of the basket, it will depend on which shipping band it falls into. Styles is somewhere that we use to put additional styles. So as you saw on the shop, we haven't got any styling on that by default, but this is where we would then go and add specific styling to match the shop to the website or the portal or whatever it was going to be embedded within. And we also have discount codes that can be set up. These are a flat percentage of the final basket, and you can set up a name for it, and you can set them as active or not, and you can have as many as you want. Finally, if we go to the orders section and go through these, we can see the incomplete orders will list here. It will list all this information, ability to drill into it to see what products were ordered, and the mark it as dispatched. Once marked as dispatched, the order will move to the complete orders, where you'll be able to see exactly the same information as well. It's just a separate view, so you can split between which ones you've dealt with and which ones are still yet to be resolved. Then, as I mentioned at the start, all those reports can be run here for a specific date and time period using a date and time picker, and you can either get them as a graph on screen or as a CSV that you can download. Finally, we have a couple of exports in here, which we have more coming, and this is a way of exporting the products that have been sold based on which order. So this will break it down, each product to its own line, give you all the information as you can see in these titles here. And again, you can either set it for a specific type, and you set your own date range, and again, you can have it as a CSV to download or as a table to show it in line here. Finally, you have the abandoned baskets. This will show you the sessions that have been created and the history of what they've added to the basket. So as you can see mine from the demo here, I've added 2 t-shirts to my basket that were small and blue. If I click into it to drill into more information, you can see that on the first version, I added 1, and then the second version, I added a second t-shirt. So this will allow you to kind of get all the meta information on what products are being added to basket, but not associated to orders. So as soon as I went through and ordered this basket, it would no longer be counted as an abandoned basket. It wouldn't show in this list. This purely shows the ones that have been created, but they haven't gone through to the checkout. So it allows you to try and track where people are dropping out, what products they're interested in, but they're not getting through to the final stages of purchasing. So that is a quick overview of the shop and how to add the different products and their types, the items and the lines, what information you can report on, how you can resolve those orders, and some general settings around the shop. Thank you for your time.